Hello and welcome to the Joleedo Gamescast. I'm Jason Johnson, and with me today is Derek Dover and Alex Lee. It's E3 week, and today we'll be discussing our reactions to the Sony and EA press conferences. But before we have fun talking about video games, we wanted to take a moment to reflect on the heinous tragedy in Orlando. Joleedo stands in solidarity with the victims. It is E3 this week, E3 2016. I say let's go for the biggest one. Let's start with Sony.
That's right. The biggest one and the best.
Well,
Sony.
Inarguable, I think, at this point. Sony had by far the best press conference.
They always do really well, and I do have some things that I can, would complain about, but that was pretty much a flawless presentation and a flawless conference for them. I mean, we can always ask for more, but overall, that was solid from beginning to end.
Yeah, I think if there was one lull in the show, it was part of the PSVR showcase. Specifically, I would say the Final Fantasy 15 VR demo level mission, whatever that is.
I didn't mind so much. I mean, they were just being goofy and having fun with it.
No, I get that, and that's fine. But I've had an issue, generally speaking, with PSVR because I don't know if Sony has done enough so far to sell me on the device, and I don't know after this, aside from one title, which we will get to in a second, that clearly stood out above the rest, not just for PSVR titles, but for I think surprises of the whole show. But it's like, tonight they showed the Final Fantasy thing, which didn't do much for me. And they showed Batman Arkham VR, but we don't really know what that is. They showed a little CG, and hopefully we'll know more soon.
I'm a little curious, a little disappointed about that, because I was kind of hoping Rocksteady could move on and do something
right,
original and creative, but.
And
sure.
This is a piece of hardware that comes out in October. Like, they have to sell this thing, and they can't wait until Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show. Like, this is E3, and I don't know if they sold it to me with the other games aside from the Mars thing, Fairpoint. I believe that's what that was called, which looks like some. I don't know if it's survival horror. It just looks like a really tense survival experience on Mars.
Yeah.
Now that's awesome to me. I love sci-fi, and experiencing anything like that in virtual reality, like for me, like that's kind of a killer app. But they did show Resident Evil 7.
I've literally, since we began, actually before we began, I've had the I guess they put out a new trailer for it, the Desolation trailer. I've just been looping this trailer over and over.
Oh,
as we speak, like I'm not even listening to what I'm not even paying attention to the podcast anymore. I'm just watching this trailer. It's just incredible.
It's got the potential to really set itself up as the first great VR game.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, because for me, like, I'm looking for the real games that are coming to VR. Like, that's what sells me. There's a lot of fun, I don't want to call them distractions, but there are these small bite-sized tech demos that are very immersive and very impressive. But, I want the games, right? Like, GT Sport is supposed to be in VR, I believe. Yeah. Like, they didn't show that.
Yeah,
that's even. Where's that?
GT Sport, that's pretty much official. That wasn't a leak, was it?
I don't think so. I think it is official.
I thought that was official, so I'm really surprised they didn't, do something. But I guess what can you really show? But, show somebody behind the wheel. It would just look like any other racer. But yeah, they should have said something.
I mean,
I guess
Resident Evil comes out early next year, right? February,
I
somewhere.
know what the hell.
So like that's not this
Oh
year.
my god.
Well, neither is Ace Combat, but you still could have shown it. Like neither is Dreams, but where was that? Media Molecule
Yeah.
was gone. They were absent from the show.
You know the again, I do think PlayStation had a great conference, but the one thing that was really missing for me was the indies. Like
Oh,
all the great indies they've always shown, and I love the indies that they've been bringing to the PlayStation consoles. But yeah, they I don't know, they just kind of dropped the ball on that one. So
I mean,
again, like I'm totally happy, but yeah, I really missed that. Still waiting for Rhyme, even though that's no longer a PlayStation deal.
yeah, the Tequila
Just
World is
just a
the
side note.
Yes, they have parted ways to some extent with their deal with Sony, so we don't really know what the state of Rhyme is. But yeah, I miss titles like that. There's a great looking indie title. Well, I don't know if it's indie. It's a smaller game called Bound by Plastic. And they didn't show this trailer. They showed part of the trailer. There was in one of the montages, the one at the end of the show,
Yeah.
they showed this almost journey-looking game that stars a dancer.
Oh
And,
yeah, that one. Got it right.
like I think that
I
would have
remember
been
now.
the perfect title to show. At
Well, they did already show it because I
Well-
think they showed that at Gamescom last year or the PlayStation Experience one. Maybe it was the Experience.
Okay, that's fine, but it's still E3, and
Yeah.
you have a lot of games. Like we saw a lot of third-person action games, right? AAA titles, and we'll go down the list real quick in a second.
I guess
But-
they just wanted to drop the new stuff.
Yeah, no, I completely understand, but it's not like they were lacking for time. Like it was a brisk show this year. It was 80 minutes, and we're done.
Yeah, that's true. But hey, wait, whoa. Before we get any further, I want to go back to Resident Evil.
I
Yeah,
do too.
yeah.
I know we're following these rabbit trails, but come on now. Okay, look. I was so excited for this game because of the rumors that were coming out about it. Like they had pulled, what's his name? One of the development team that worked on PT, and they talked about getting back to the roots. But like Capcom is, they've let me down a little bit before.
Mhm.
So like I was very hesitant. I didn't have my hopes up for what I was going to see for Resident Evil 7. And when the demo started, like it really felt like they had captured that what made PT so great. Kind of the essence of PT and that sense of horror, and I was just blown away, man. Like when they dropped that Resident Evil 7, because I thought it was like, oh, what the hell is this? Some new IP? Like they're playing off the PT thing. Like what is going on? And
Yeah.
man, when we saw that 7, my heart just I was about in tears, man. It was truly beautiful.
I don't know if there is a bigger applause moment of E3 so far. Than
No, that
when,
was the Shia LaBeouf applause right there.
yeah. But yeah, it was suddenly like I mentioned in last Gamescast that I tried the kitchen last year.
Mhm.
And when they opened up with the kitchen, they're like, before this
Before
takes
the
place
kitchen, yeah.
before the kitchen. I was like, oh, please, I don't want to go back there. I've already been there. I didn't have a good trip to the kitchen. So I had no clue what we were seeing. And like spooky old rundown houses, like that is not for me. Like that's some Blair Witch stuff that I want no part of. But I think one thing was absolutely clear. By the time they were done, not only did they have a showstopper of a reveal, but it really showed that Resident Evil is moving away from, the last couple iterations, that style of gameplay, third person, action focused. I think that's a fair assessment of 5 and 6. And they are stepping back. I don't know. To me, it felt maybe more survival horror than like the first game, like this first person immersive experience. Like I don't know. That's nightmare fuel.
Well, we'll see what happens when they announce more information because I'll be curious to see. So the game is playable all the way through in VR,
Correct.
but Resident Evil has toyed with in certain iterations of the game having third person and a first person mode. So I'd be curious to see if they still have that available, if they're just completely going first person.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see what they do kind of from the trailer, or from the demo rather, when that comes out and being able to get our hands on it. One thing I think is interesting though is from the trailer, it's the first game that I've really thought that looks like it'll play better in that first person VR than with a controller in hand and looking at a screen.
Interesting. And Alex, you are or were a fan. We haven't talked about Resident Evil in a while, but you're a fan of the series, right?
Absolutely. The remake of Resident Evil 1 for the GameCube is one of my formative gaming experiences.
Ooh. Oh man, that's a good one. Did you play 5 and 6?
I played 5 and beat it and put a good chunk of time into 6. And I'd say 4 is really the first one where they really diverged into that kind of action shooter side part.
So then what do you think about them taking, I don't even know if saying taking a step back is the right thing to say. They may be stepping somewhere else with 7. But what do you feel like leaving, or presumably leaving, this action focused direction they've been heading and going towards something that's maybe more, slower paced survival horror, focused on the atmosphere, maybe more than how many zombies you're killing?
I'm really excited. I think it's a great turn for the industry, for the franchise, and for VR. I'm really excited to give it another go. I mean, I enjoyed 5 and 6, but like everyone, I think a lot of people felt they were a departure from that survival horror that we kind of really loved from the previous games.
I will. I'll just go ahead and say that, I really did love it. But I hope they don't lose kind of the heart of Resident Evil. I don't want them to go totally PT or go totally, just I don't want them to break away from the series too much. I do love certain aspects of Resident Evil, going back to Resident Evil 1 with all the puzzles, and I did like a little bit of action in there. It wasn't zombies all the time, but they had the zombies spread out, so it was
sure.
You were more scared by one single zombie, but it still had that. It wasn't an action game, really the first one, but it still had a little bit of that. I hope they don't completely break away from that.
Just imagine, one of the hallway scenes from the very beginning of Resident Evil 1. When you first get to the mansion and you're just trying to, find your bearings. Imagine something like that. You turn a corner in VR in RE7 and a dog jumps through the window.
That's all I can think
about.
Oh,
those fucking dogs.
Dog. Is he walking the wrong way down that hallway
no.
and those dogs jump out at you, and just that in VR. I mean, that's how I'm going to trip and fall onto my couch or something like that.
The dogs and the damn birds. I don't. Oh, God.
So maybe they should have a heart condition warning on this title.
Yeah, that's we've always joked about that, but I kind of anticipate one of these horror games is just going to put somebody in the ground.
Oh man, well, hopefully it's not Resident Evil. And as a casual fan of Resident Evil, and I say casual because I haven't paid too much attention to the series with 5 and 6. I did play 4, loved 4, loved the 1 remake on GameCube, played 0, but I missed 2 and 3. So I'm kind of in the middle. And I got to tell you, I'm more interested now in the series than I have been in 10 years, easily. But I think it's good, and I think it's healthy for franchises to, occasionally not necessarily remake themselves, but, take a step back and, rewrite the fundamentals a little bit. And that brings me to Sony's opener for the conference, which was God of War.
What a brilliant way to open the show.
Oh, no, go on.
Oh, no, I just thought it was so fantastic with all the other shows that they've had, all the other conferences, not Sony, just the other developers and and console makers and stuff, like always coming out, and they want to do this big build up to stuff, and they want to talk about it and all this stuff. Like they just jump straight into it, and that's, I think that's the perfect way to get everybody's attention, because people want to see the games, they want to see the gameplay, they don't want to hear people yammer on about it. And I think that's something that PlayStation did really well through the entire conference. But yeah, that opener was just. It was a beautiful moment, like the perfect game, the perfect way to open it. And you could hear, like, through the whole conference, people were just losing their shit, which was fantastic. But yeah, that game really looks incredible, and I thought I was done. We're going to say this so many times about so many games, but I thought I was done with God of War, and then they showed this, and
right.
it brought me back in. There's another game that the same thing happened, and we'll discuss that. But yeah, it really brought me back in, and I was really surprised at my reaction to it. But yeah, a beautiful way to open.
For me, God of War, like I played the 4 console, the non PSP games, 1, 2, 3, and Ascension, I believe is what that was called, which was a prequel to the God of War trilogy. And so, I mean, I'm a pretty big fan of the franchise and was kind of chomping at the bit, like even from rumors that God of War was going to be returning, even more so that they were going to change the aesthetics to, they were going to leave the kind of Greek Roman mythos and head toward like Norse mythology. Like I thought that was a really cool idea. But the thing that shocked me was the gameplay change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so interesting when you do dare to, or risk to, change your gameplay fundamentals. Like that's tricky because it is no longer the series that millions of people played. Like this is something different. This is it reminds me more of like Uncharted in a way, in terms of camera placement and how you move. Like it seems to be completely just over the shoulder fixed camera, but it was still, the character was still there, Kratos, who is the main character of this one. This is not God of War 4, this is God of War, and Kratos is still the main character. We don't know much about the story other than that. So his son, anyone who watched the trailer and was like, oh no, they're going to have his son be the main character, that's not true. It has been clarified that Kratos is still the star. But that character alone sucks you in. And maybe that's like a concern to take a half step back to Resident Evil real quick, where Resident Evil that's a big character focused franchise, more than anything. So as long as the characters are there, and I think, once we see a little bit more of RE7, maybe some people's, fears will disappear a bit. Because for God of War, for me, it doesn't matter how much they changed. Like it still felt like God of War. It still looked like God of War, even if it's not some big like hack and slash, brawler anymore, or seemingly. Maybe there will be like sequences of that in the game. But I was very impressed. Visually, it just looks phenomenal. Gameplay looks good. Everything moved very smoothly, seamlessly. Very impressed. They opened, before they even showed God of War any gameplay, and what we saw was a live demo. They opened up with a full orchestra that played like 5 minutes of God of War music, leading into the re-reveal or reintroduction of God of War as a series.
Man, I hope Sony sticks with that. They need to keep the orchestra for every conference. That was really, really cool.
Do either of you guys remember Nintendo's press conference from 2011, the Skyward Sword 25th anniversary of Zelda year?
I remember missing the symphony that they had that went along with it.
Yeah,
that's what I remember.
And that was like the introduction of the Symphony of the Goddesses tour.
Mm-hmm.
And like the God of War intro reminded me of that. And I always like that for Zelda. I like when game companies and developers, when they can, take a second to really respect the characters and the franchises that they work on and, so many people play, and, give it a little bit of reverence. Like God of War has been around for a long time now. And it's easy to dismiss some of the stuff as, oh, it's just games, oh, it's just entertainment. But sometimes this stuff means a lot to people, and I don't think that should ever be what's the word I'm looking for? Um, Not misunderstood, or it shouldn't be disrespected or ignored.
Taken lightly.
Taken lightly. Thank you. So what was the other game, Derek?
Well, just real quick, I was going to say last piece on God of War.
Mm-hmm.
I think just kind of recalling everything that happened and thinking about what got me excited for it. It's funny because I've always liked the God of War series, but I never cared about Kratos.
Mm-hmm.
And this little bit got me more interested in Kratos' story and his character than any of the other games have done before.
That's interesting.
And it's everybody's got their own personal taste and preference on characters and story and all that kind of thing. But yeah, like I was finally interested in Kratos. It just, I guess maybe just adding his son in and just the little bit of touches that they did. I just really enjoy having a character with emotional depth. And to this point, my memories of Kratos have been him just ripping off Monster's head and then him banging the girl in his room to get whatever the points. I don't remember. I just remember the little bed scene where you could get energy or points or whatever.
Yeah, keep tapping the buttons.
Yep. Yeah, that was basically my picture of Kratos up to this point.
See,
so I really love what they've done.
See, and that's kind of sad because, like God of War 1, I always thought had a pretty interesting story and an interesting setup. Kratos is, basically in the service of the God of War, Ares, and has to do his bidding, and then he, ends up killing his family and then decides he has to hunt down the God of War. And so it's a revenge story. And of course, of over 3 iterations that revenge story is basically just a serial killer.
Well, the overall story, the overall narrative for God of War, like you just said, like it is really cool. I love the idea, but I guess they just never, for me, they didn't do a great job of connecting me to Kratos, as a person, I guess. I never felt that connection with him. Sure, it's like, yeah, you killed your family. Okay, I feel for you. But they never, I don't know. Maybe we're just at the point now with technology where we're able to really show more subtle emotion, and the little movements, the little things, the touches, the look in the eye. Like we're able to do that now. So I guess maybe we were hindered by the I guess lack of technology when the game first came out. Maybe that's all it was, and we're just able to do more.
That's a really interesting point.
But I really love what they're doing. So I'm totally on board for another one.
So speaking of character connections, I think The Last Guardian has that in spades, right?
Yep.
Now I don't have much of a I really don't have any connection to Team Eco. Eco, right? Not Ico? Eco?
Yeah, Eco.
I never played Eco. I played just a little bit of Shadow of the Colossus.
Mm-hmm.
Enough to get a taste. So, I mean, I understand that game even if I didn't finish it. But this is very interesting. And this is also a long time coming. Like, I don't even know how long ago it's been since Sony first announced The Last Guardian for PlayStation 3.
I think I texted you when we saw the date. Like I actually got a little bit emotional when we saw that October date. It's like, it's finally real. Like it's been real. They've confirmed it and everything. But like, when you get that date, that changes everything.
I mean, you make 8-9 years, however long it's been, of speculation and waiting and promises and hopes and dreams and all that. You make it real. And that's why sometimes I have a problem with Sony and how they the types of games that they show in their press conferences year to year, because Sony likes to show these amazing looking titles, and they end up being, for the most part, very strong games, but it seems like they never date things. And even like tonight, the only the only like AAA title from Sony this year is The Last Guardian. If that's even a AAA title, like we don't know too much about it, to be honest.
Right.
And they show these great things. They show God of War, they show Days Gone, they show Detroit and Horizon, but it's all either next year or there is no date. So we don't really know when it's coming. It makes for a good visual presentation because we see some amazing things, but these aren't necessarily games you're going to be playing anytime soon. And we don't even know what kind of hardware they're running on.
Right.
As the console market.
I think that's what you were talking about the entire time the conference was running. Like, yeah. Oh, this is not running on PS4.
No, I mean, call me a skeptic for sure. But when you tell me, so all right, so let's let's sidestep to Neo, PlayStation 4 Neo, which is a new console, a half step of the PlayStation 4. It comes out, presumably, it's rumored to come out later this year, before the holidays, and it has about twice the power, based on Giant Bomb's leaked specs, twice the power and performance of the PlayStation 4. And we know that there is a mandate for developers in mid-September where once in order to not make games, guaranteed games, that supports both the base PlayStation 4, the one we have now, and the Neo, like it has to come out before September 16th or whatever it is. Once you pass that line in September, like you have to have whatever they're called, not specs, but the not scalability, but you need to have like the settings, for lack of a better term, to support both of these console specs. And it is a new console. Like when you upgrade your GPU and you upclock your CPU, like we're dealing with a new console.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess one question for you then. Do you think any of the footage you saw on stage at the Sony display today was from a PS4 Neo, or do you think it's some power machine behind the stage?
I think almost everything we saw was running on either a PlayStation 4 Neo or a PC running PlayStation 4 Neo specs. I think the only game we saw that was running on PS3 or PS4 base hardware was The Last Guardian.
So you don't think we saw something with specs beyond that of a PS4 Neo?
Beyond that, maybe the third-party titles. They showed Call of Duty. They showed I thought it was a great demo of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Looked very impressive. And the whole time, just like with many of these games, I'm just thinking, this is not running on a PS4. To me, it like clearly feels like it's running on some amazing PC. So I don't know. Maybe not. They didn't, as far as I remember, they didn't have any intros in their videos that said, the following was captured on PS4, which is what they did with Uncharted, right? With Uncharted 4 last E3.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if they kind of come out with that and confirm what they were running on. They do occasionally. And wait, didn't Kojima say that his project was running on PS4?
Well, maybe he did. Like, and if so, fantastic. I mean, like PlayStation 4 it's got some really good hardware. Like we have seen some very impressive titles made for that console. But I mean, I just know that as a developer and a platform holder, and you want to sell these games to as many people as you can, you want it to look and run like as good as it can. And so when we know that there are new consoles out there, developers have new consoles, and we know that third-party titles have, are being designed for, top of the line consumer PC rigs, like Battlefield 1 that we saw at EA and Microsoft. like that is a gorgeous game. And when you watch, the multiplayer showcase that they did after the EA conference, where they did like a live 64 player extravaganza with celebrities and with actors and rappers and
I still need to go back and watch that after you were texting me about it.
That right there is probably the highlight of EA's conference, just because it was absolutely insane. And everyone was high. Everyone was so blatantly stoned that it just made the whole thing hilarious and ridiculous, and it was fun. And the game looks great, but it doesn't necessarily look as good as they're showing. So maybe in the trailers they're showing campaign footage and not, they don't have to render these huge open vistas for 64 people and get that running. And it wasn't running, amazingly on whatever PC rigs they had them playing on. And obviously, there's still time and you need to optimize and all that. So yeah, the point is, I know how it goes sometimes. And when I know that there's a new PlayStation 4 with twice the power probably coming to market before Black Friday, I have to wonder if all of these games that we saw are actually running on that. And if that's the case, what exactly are PlayStation 4 owners going to be playing when they get these games?
See, after they didn't say anything about Neo today, I really feel like they're going to be holding off on it. I can't see them completely ignoring E3 and then jumping into Black Friday sales.
Do you think that was a mistake?
No, I think that Microsoft kind of surprised them with, the power that they had with the Scorpion. So I think Scorpio, forgive me. So I keep thinking of the GIF with the Scorpion King.
With Phil Spencer's head.
Yeah, Phil Spencer's head on the Scorpion King.
That's true.
So I keep saying Scorpio. Yeah, I just think PlayStation got caught off guard by, how powerful the Scorpio is. And so they're like, let's hold off a little bit and make sure ours is equally, if not more powerful.
Sure.
Which is why we ended the conference today with Days Gone instead of information on Neo.
Right. Now, Days Gone, this is from Sony Bend, correct?
Oh my God. It's been so freaking long since Sony Bend announced what the hell they were doing. I'm telling you right now, Colin Moriarty is just losing his shit because he's been begging for that for years. So yeah, they finally revealed The Last of Us 2.
That's good. Cross Sons of Anarchy.
Yes, Cross Sons of Anarchy.
What's funny is that when Hideo Kojima came out to like this incredible intro, they were playing Mad Max music as he was just like ushered into the auditorium. It was amazing. And he showed off a game that I thought it was PT. I thought it was the resurrection of PT because it even starred Norman Reedus. And because of that, I half expected Days Gone, that main character, to be played by Norman Reedus, once the gameplay demo started. Because it had that feel of The Walking Dead and Last of Us and motorcycles and Sons of Anarchy, and he seemed like the perfect, protagonist for something like that. But it wasn't him. But what did you think of what they showed? They showed what could be an open world. It looks vast. We know that. And they showed a whole lot of zombies or zombie-like creatures.
I think that's the only thing that I really thought was great about that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we had never had The Last of Us, then maybe I would have been more excited. But it really just looked like The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that didn't was it looks like the gameplay is a little more action heavy. And then when they had that horde of zombies, that was really cool. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And watching him slowly back up and try to take out, as many as he could using barrels and collapsing bridges and slowly making his way up to the top of the building. That was really cool. but yeah, the story didn't really strike me, and they didn't show a whole lot, but the characters didn't really do anything for me. The story, the world just kind of felt like The Last of Us. It might be a great game, and it's not really fair to say this when we really still know nothing.
It's hard to tell, and I agree. I mean, I think if you want an interesting story, you need to look over at David Cage's Quantic Dream and what they have cooking up with Detroit.
Yeah,
and like Quantic Dream, they made the just really fascinating Indigo Prophecy, also called Fahrenheit. They made Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls on PlayStation 3, and we've seen a lot of tech demos from them recently. When the PlayStation 3, or geez, I keep calling it 3, PlayStation 4 was revealed. They had put together this demo it's like the Dark Sorcerer demo.
The Dark Sorcerer that was the actor, they were filming it. Yeah,
an actor playing a sorcerer, and it's great. Like it looks phenomenal. The performance capture on the actors, which I think you're 100% right, Derek, with talking about how the technology has definitely helped conveying a lot of emotion. And the same thing can be said about technology in film as well, and there's a lot of cross-pollinating with video game and film technology, especially in with respect to performance capture, and making CGI characters or video game characters feel real. And David Cage has kind of been a pioneer of that. And sometimes he's been criticized for creating interactive movies, and they're not really games. And I thought that Detroit, in a way, is kind of an answer to that criticism. Because, sure, maybe it is still a lot of walking around and a lot of conversations and very little action, and and Heavy Rain and Beyond, they were still based on focused on choices, and the choices you make do kind of haunt you and change the story a little bit. Detroit seems 100% choice based, where you're talking about they showed maybe a dozen or more different endings to this scene. The scene that they showed for Detroit was a hostage situation, where then depending on the evidence you collect as the character, whoever they were playing as, I don't know if he's a cop or he was just brought in as a negotiator, happened to be an AI or a robot. But the amount of clues you collect and information you collect changed the ending to that hostage situation. And I thought that was really impressive. It's kind of like maybe the current epitome of choose your own adventure.
Well, I feel like this is what David Cage has really been building up to. With all the games he's done, like even Heavy Rain, it did have choices, but I felt like in a lot of cases in that game in particular, the choices didn't matter a whole lot. Mm-hmm. So this feels like a fully realized, game where every tiny little thing really matters. And that's really cool, because we have tons of games. If you want action, you can play any one of a million games. So I don't mind having a game that's based around choice and story and dialogue, and being a sleuth and so forth. So I think I really welcome the change of pace, but I'm really excited to see what David's able to do with the story for Detroit.
Yeah, absolutely. So am I.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just watched the trailer right before this, and yeah, that level of choice and that level of choose your own adventure-ness, I mean, that's the future of gaming, I think. Eventually almost all games will have that level of detail.
Oh, I hope so.
Or at least all AAA titles.
Let's just hope Mass Effect Andromeda has that level of choice.
Man, that's the dream.
Oh.
Okay, so should we hop on over to EA and talk about the only two good things about that conference?
Well,
Or do you
I'll
want
just
to wrap up on Sony?
I'll make one last. Actually, let me make two. Oh my God, there's so much to talk about with Sony.
Yeah.
I'll make two comments, and I'll try to keep them brief. One, like we had mentioned with God of War, I was shocked to find that I was still interested in Call of Duty. When they showed that Infinite Warfare.
Yes. Infinite Warfare.
Warfare. Okay, good. When they showed the Infinite Warfare trailer, I had no idea that was Call of Duty, and I was like, "Oh my God, this looks so cool." My other thought was that grappling hooks are like weapon of the year. Everybody has grappling hooks now.
Yes.
But yeah, like I was like, "Oh, this looks fantastic. What is this?" And when Call of Duty popped up on the screen, I wanted to smack myself. But yeah, like that, it looks really cool, and I was really shocked to find myself interested in a Call of Duty game again.
I thought I was done with Call of Duty. I'm a long time fan of the series. I played every iteration except for Black Ops 3. I just hit that saturation point and I had to tap out. I played very briefly. I played the beta for Black Ops 3 and was like, it is Call of Duty. Yeah, it's good, but I think I'm out. And I didn't realize we were watching an Infinite Warfare trailer because they put that at the very end of the VR showcase, and they didn't introduce it as Call of Duty. So I just thought, honestly, we were seeing this like virtual reality space simulator.
Yeah.
And and I was freaking out, going, "This is it. This is the VR game I wanted." And then they like land on a ship or whatever it was outside of, like in the orbit of the planet. I don't even know if they were in Earth. There was so much visual information. I'm not sure what we were watching. And they landed the ships on the surface of this other vessel and got out. And I was like, wait a second, this is Call of Duty, isn't it? But very impressive, I thought. And it might be enough to pull me back in. And I had written it off, especially in a year where we have, Battlefield 1 looks great. It's still Battlefield, which is good if you're a fan of the series. But the World War I setting is interesting and a titch controversial because of how brutal that war was. Even though all wars are brutal, there isn't really the peaceful, non-bloody war. But particularly World War I was atrocious.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful in a setting like that. You need to make sure that you respect, the people who died, and how they died and all that. But that game looks really good. And Titanfall, which opened EA's press conference, I thought looked spectacular. And this is the first iteration in the series. There's only been one game. The first Titanfall did not have a single player campaign. It had an online kind of campaign hybrid where you played through multiplayer maps the same way as you normally would, except there was an order that you would play the maps. And they had kind of a vague story that was, connecting these different levels. And then you played on both sides, the militia and then the IMC. And it was okay. I mean, it was kind of pointless. And it made people... go ahead.
Did the little bit of story that they had in the first one, because I didn't play it, did the little bit of story, I guess, insinuate that there were aliens, or did it get into any of the story that they've now introduced with Titanfall 2, with the AI Titans,
the Transformers?
Yes. Did they allude to Optimus Prime being in the sequel? They
did not, as far as I remember. And honestly, the story in Titanfall 1 is so thin. It's interesting as you're playing it and you're kind of hearing bits and pieces of radio chatter that's supposed to be the story. It's kind of interesting if you take a second to eavesdrop, but it's nothing like that. In the maps, you see like various like alien species, various monsters, kind of in the background, almost like they're part of the skybox, if you were, but nothing like what they showed. Like they showed in the Titanfall 2 campaign trailer, they showed something that, you know, looked a little, it looked similar to kind of a Call of Duty meets Halo in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Or, even kind of like these like little Half-Life vibes, maybe. Prey from Bethesda, probably that I thought when the Prey trailer came on, I thought that was Half-Life. I thought that Bethesda had acquired the rights from Valve and someone was finally making Half-Life 3 because they set up this great narrative about a scientist, and then like things go wrong, an experiment goes wrong, and then out of nowhere they show like this black head crab looking thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Half-Life. Someone finally did it. That's not. Prey also cool, but not quite that.
You poor tortured soul.
I know. I'm one of like the dozen people who played Prey, the original, and I was really excited when this feels like forever ago. When Prey 2 was announced, and it was like a bounty hunting game with aliens. It looked like a Boba Fett game or something, or Blade Runner. It had that kind of aesthetic. It was really cool and really interesting. And then it got canned, and the series was, presumed dead until last night. But yeah, to go back to Titanfall 2, the idea that the Titans are actually sentient, or at least that's what they're alluded to be. It kind of had this like iRobot vibe to it, because it opens with this like interrogation of one of the Titans, or what sounded like an interrogation, going through like the protocols of a Titan and what they're supposed to do. And apparently one of them or some of them had violated those protocols.
Right. And
some humans were killed. Like, okay, I'm in. That's all you had to say. You didn't have to show then these amazing like sci-fi action set pieces, which they did. So I'm very intrigued about that campaign. In terms of multiplayer, like Titanfall is such a slick, different shooter. It got a lot of crap when it first came out because one, it was an Xbox One and PC exclusive. And it used the power of the cloud to to generate these little what are they called, MOBAs, like little minions, to run across and like act as just fodder for the real players. So it was just like a handful of players. I forget how many, 8v8 maybe, of actual players, and then you had like dozens and dozens of these minions running around that you could kill, and you get some XP or whatever. But a lot of people didn't like that because they felt it was, you were trying to manufacture like the population of a game, and it also served as the wrong type of distraction where you didn't know all the time who you were attacking at a glance or who was attacking you. But Titanfall is a different beast than Call of Duty, let's say, where you know that when you're shot, like it's someone, there's a player or there's a turret, or a gunship is coming in. Like those are the expectations, and Titanfall is maybe a little more random for some people. I thought it was cool, but I honestly may have been the minority in that. So it was really cool to see that stuff.
It looked interesting. And I thought, what they're doing with the story, it could be really cool. Mm-hmm. If it's done right, we'll see if they can pull off the narrative, well. But I don't know. It just didn't really get me excited. Like, I thought it was looked fun. It looked like the Titanfall that I'd already seen.
Yeah. And hey, if you're going to play a sci-fi action game with shooting from EA, you probably want to play Mass Effect.
A little bit.
So, yeah. Alex.
Oh, God.
What did you think of Mass Effect?
I mean,
the little they showed.
I guess it didn't really get me going. It just kind of felt like EA was trotting out the trusted IP, the money maker.
Right.
I guess maybe I'm skeptical. But I want a little bit more before I can kind of really give like a firm take on it. But I guess I'll say like how I felt about everything else at the EA conference. Nothing was really a rush out and pre-order for me.
They showed you an Asari. That's all you needed to see. That's all I needed to see.
So we know
I miss you, Liara.
everyone misses Liara, okay? But she's not coming back. She's gone. She's gone. I don't want to like crush anyone's dreams.
She's coming back for only $19.99.
Oh God.
Well, she's probably, knowing EA, some of these companies, absolutely.
You'll get her if you pre-order her from GameStop.
Oh. Does Amazon have like, what was her name, Talia or Tally?
Talivas Normandy.
Yeah.
They didn't show a lot, but to be quite honest, it doesn't take me a lot. It doesn't take a lot for me to get excited for Mass Effect. They showed some really great concept art and a lot of fun stuff. They did show some really beautiful stuff from the game. Even if we didn't get a full blown trailer or a lot of gameplay, any gameplay.
They showed a little bit.
I can't remember what was
they
it?
showed someone walking through the sands of an alien planet. I mean, that's technically
okay. No, just seeing a little bit gets me excited. I honestly, I don't mind them pushing the game off because I want it to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if they're not ready to show, that's fine. They showed us a little bit. It's keeping me going, but it's not like I'm gonna lose interest in Mass Effect. So whether they show it or not really doesn't matter to me.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat. And I forget who it was. I forget his name, but he was on one of the BioWare developers was on Jeff Keighley's YouTube marathon. Like he did 12 hours today. Pretty remarkable for E3 coverage. And like nonstop. Like you could tell he was a little exhausted, but man, he powered through it and he's a pro. He's a pro at this thing. And he had one of the lead developers on Mass Effect Andromeda, and that guy, he did clarify a few things. One, the default main character, who I believe the character's name is Ryder.
Yeah, I believe so. It sounds right.
So the default character is the female version of Ryder versus the male version of Shepard in the Mass Effect trilogy.
Well, is there really a default character? Because you pick male or female at the very beginning. So
it's like the first one you're presented with, I assume. So when you go to make your character, it's the the female version.
Shep.
Yeah.
You played Fem Shep, didn't you?
I did not. I played male Shepard. I actually, if given the option, I almost always pick a female main character.
I played on my evil playthrough. I played FemShep.
See, I just could never do it because part of any of these gaming experiences for me is I have an overactive imagination and I like to let myself become the character, which is why when I play Mass Effect, I spend as much time as possible just making the character and trying to make them look like me.
Right.
So like that's just how I like to play. I like to become the character. So I just could never play a FemShep.
Oh, but I think that's completely understandable. Options are good.
I just want to see more. Just
yeah, I
can't wait. I just can't wait to see some real gameplay. And what's the date on the game right now?
It is still that
Spring?
developer I was talking about. It is still spring next year.
Spring, yep.
He said that they're basically in crunch right now, like 9 months out, and that they are really trying to get this thing done. What he said was that basically the new consoles seem to be partially to blame for the lack of being able to show anything at E3, because they've had to rebuild certain things. He did not specify what those things are, in order to support the new consoles, Scorpio from Microsoft and then Neo from PlayStation. Presumably, maybe he was talking about NX from Nintendo. I don't know. But he seemed to allude that, listen, we really want to show more, but we can't. We're super busy, and there's a lot of stuff and a lot of platforms that have to be supported. And but yeah, he said that the default character was the female rider, and there's only one vehicle that you can drive in, and that is the Mako that we saw in the trailer. And they're trying to convince everyone that you should love this vehicle, since a lot of people did not like it in the first Mass Effect. And I forget, was it in either of the others? But
yeah, it was a little bit. I think the first one had a lot more driving, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm,
but like the stuff they've shown with the Mako, like they make it look fun.
Yeah,
for the little bit that we've seen. So I'm excited. I give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. I don't know if it was the reveal that we were hoping.
Yeah.
That's disappointing. I would say Mass Effect is actually one of the bigger disappointments of E3 for me personally.
Yeah.
Just because like I needed Mass Effect, and I got a tease. And they're promising, we're going to get more information, maybe a proper blowout of the game in the fall or the autumn.
Right. So we've got Gamescom and we've got the PlayStation Experience. So
yeah, there's
it'll be there. It'll be there. And I'm just, they really don't need to say anything at all to get me hyped for it.
Yeah.
I've been dreaming about this game since the last one ended.
Yeah, I agreed with you both totally. It was a disappointment for me, but at the same time, they don't have to do anything, and the hype is there.
Yeah,
that's
totally
true. That absolutely. To end EA, because honestly, there's not a whole lot to talk about. Another cool game that they showed was Faye.
FIFA? Oh, sorry.
No, the other one.
Oh, not FIFA?
It was Fee.
I remember FIFA.
No, I think it was Fee 5 Foe, I'm pretty sure.
Whatever it was confusing, and no one could pronounce it the same, whoever. But it was the first title from EA Originals, which is a new like indie game initiative to bring in great developers under the EA umbrella and support them with developing and then publish their titles. And very similar to what EA did last year with Unravel, which was the last game I saw at E3 last year, and was very impressed. And the retail game I can highly recommend. It's really fun. It's a very kind of sweet, introspective platformer. So more games like that, and Fee or Faye, whatever it's called, is in that vein. It's apparently some like third-person platformer, which is really cool. And it looks interesting, and unfortunately, it's about as much as I can say. It looks interesting. Don't really know.
Yeah, it looks like a fun indie game,
but
like kind of the feel of like Ori and the Blind Forest or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I say more of that. Like, we need more of that, because the rest of EA's conference, aside from the 4 games we talked about, Battlefield, Titanfall, Mass Effect, and Faye.
FIFA.
Although there's one thing I do want to jump on before we leave EA is Star Wars, and I think that's a big disappointment, right? Because there's a lot of moving pieces in the Star Wars video game universe.
A lot going on and nothing to show.
Exactly. And I said this to Jason before. Basically, that was equal parts mediocre hype video.
It's terrible.
And half equal part recruiting video. They're like, we've got the best talent. We're going to make the best games. We've got the best talent. By the way, we still need talent. Please come work for us.
It was a pretty terrible hype video. Like, we've got 50 Star Wars games in development in every genre that you love. Please be excited. Thank you.
Yeah, none of them are coming out this year. One might come out next year, another Battlefront, which is fine. But I think a lot of us were excited about like Visceral, which is being this project is being led by Amy Hennig from the Uncharted series. They have a game that they briefly teased. They showed like 3 seconds of this third-person action game, and that's it. Like, it reminded me of the Star Wars 1313 demo from like 4 or 5 years ago.
And when who's the other team?
The other team
doing the third-person action.
I believe that's Motive, Jade Raymond's team. I think they are also tackling. They are currently assisting DICE in the next Battlefront game. My guess is that they're probably doing a campaign for it. But supposedly they also have another game that they're working on that is more like a 2018. I'd hate to even say 2019 title. Who knows what consoles will be out there in 2019?
Oh,
and maybe that's part of the problem. They don't really know what they're developing for.
I was kind of hoping they would at least bring Old Republic to consoles.
Oh man, yeah.
It just seems like with all the new consoles come out, like it seems like a really good idea to me. I'd love to play through it.
It's really fun. It is, especially if you're a fan of Knights of the Old Republic. The Old Republic is a fusion between Knights of the Old Republic and World of Warcraft.
God, that's a dangerous combination.
It is. No, it is. It's really fun. It's not an amazing game. At least when I played it right when it launched. I dumped probably 60 hours into that beta, and then when it launched, because in order to get into the beta, you had to buy it. You had to pre-order it, and so then when it launched, I maybe played like another 10 hours, maybe, and was like, oh, I think I'm done.
I got so burned on Star Wars Galaxy that I had a hard time ever really wanting to jump into another Star Wars MMO.
Right. I never played that.
That's one of the last MMOs I really played. Dancing Wookiees, that's what I remember.
I remember getting my ass kicked by a butterfly over and over.
So I was just going to say, I think it's with Star Wars, it's nice to know that there are Star Wars titles coming, but obviously we have to wait a little bit longer than we expected to actually see them, and then even longer to play them. So hopefully they're good. They've got some good teams working on this stuff. Respawn is also working on a game. They teased that this project is being led by Stig Asmussen from God of War 3, I think. And they briefly showed in this recruitment video Alex is talking about, they showed like two people in motion capture outfits like swinging sticks at each other, and then they CG'd some lightsabers on it, and that's their tease. So they're like, there's some Jedi game coming, maybe. So I don't know. I think it is disappointing. I do like videos. I like seeing games even when they're in early stages, just because I find it interesting, even though I know, from a PR standpoint and for the sanity of most of the gaming community out there, like, that is not a wise decision, because people, they want to see this game and they want to be able to see something they're going to be playing in the next year or two.
At least PlayStation showed off the Star Wars game.
Yeah, I have a mission for Battlefront.
Oh, is that all it was?
It's one mission.
Aww.
No, I know. See?
Aww.
Star Wars is just disappointing.
And like all the missions, it'll be only offline, right?
I hope not. Because what it is, it's like an X-Wing mission. It's like the VR X-Wing. I think literally that's what they called it, the VR X-Wing mission.
You shut your mouth.
And,
man. But
yeah, they didn't like show enemy players or even TIE fighters. They just like hinted that you're in the cockpit of an X-Wing, and you make the jump to light speed and you fly around something else. Oh man, what's the ship called from A New Hope? The very first one with Leia was on there, and then Darth Vader invades it. I can't think of the name of the ship.
Corellian frigate.
Yeah,
No.
It
Corellian
has
cruiser.
It has a specific name. It doesn't matter. They showed that everything looked great, looked phenomenal, and they're like, this is in virtual reality. But we don't know what but that really means is it 10 minutes in VR? Like it's not quite the like X-Wing versus TIE Fighter dream project I have in my head in VR. You know, like Valkyrie or something. Like that's what I want. But you know, I think EA, generally speaking, as a conference, was horribly disappointing.
Oh, it was just terrible.
Like
they've really got to work on their presentation.
You know, I don't have a problem at all talking about sports titles. FIFA and Madden, like these are monster titles. I have no problem with that. It's all about how you present it. And they spend way too long, but they do it in a, you know, kind of a cheesy way. And they make
that FIFA Journey, I think is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
The introduction to that was I put it on mute.
Yeah,
while the kid was going on his dramatic monologue.
I think the only thing that was interesting there was the fact that the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 won't have a story mode for their version. And so I'm curious if that'll be a sign of things to come, where like will basic PlayStation 4 not get a story mode next year as the PlayStation Neo only gets the story mode?
Whoa.
I totally missed this. What is going on?
So yeah, I guess that journey mode is not available. Go ahead, Jason.
No, I was just gonna ask you to clarify. So you're saying that the last gen versions of FIFA are not getting that story mode?
That's correct.
PlayStation 4 being included in last gen.
No. I believe it was just PS3 360.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were saying PS4 wasn't.
No, sorry. So I was projecting to the year next year's E3.
I was about to lose my shit.
I don't want to go down that conspiratorial rabbit hole, but man,
exclusive to PlayStation Neo.
Oh man, I could almost buy it. The only thing, if we didn't already know about Neo beforehand, I would say that is a legitimate risk, because from what I understand from the Neo leaks, that one of the requirements is that you can't cut major features. Like you can adjust features, but you can't cut them. Like the games have to virtually be the same. But I don't know if that extends to like if you could have 64 players in Battlefield 1 on Neo, but it's got to be cut down to 40 on PS4. I don't know if that counts, but man, cutting modes, that's especially story mode, that's kind of brutal.
Yeah.
But you know what? The whole show, from their treatment of sports and their projection of sports at the EA conference, it's just I think it's poor messaging. I understand that they have to do it. I'm perfectly fine sitting through 5 to 10 minutes of Madden every year, but it's just they bring out these just terrible personalities on camera that shouldn't be there. And you know what? I don't know if you should be talking about Madden NFL in front of a crowd in London.
Oh my God, that was so funny. At least he got off of it pretty quickly. Like he just he was transitioning with it and then moved off. But oh, geez.
Yeah, it's just a little awkward. I'm not saying you can't talk about American football in London, but it's just, it comes across as very, very bizarre and maybe a little out of touch. And they focus so much on like the competitive aspects of that and like the esports aspect. I honestly, I didn't even know that esports for Madden was a thing.
Yeah.
Like that you could play it competitively. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, total sense. I was just ignorant of that.
Yeah, I guess all the esports is just driven by their developing companies like funding, right? So yeah, makes sense.
I think they just had a poor presentation overall, and they didn't focus. They focused too much on the sports, which I don't mind. Like they did have some interesting stuff to say about Madden and FIFA, and the technology they're using. Like that's great, that's fine, but they took too long, and then to underwhelm people with Star Wars and Mass Effect, it was just painful. On top of all they had some awkward presenters. It was just everything just didn't feel. It just wasn't comfortable to watch.
Right.
So yeah, they, especially when you compare it to like Sean Layden today, and of course I'm a huge Sony pony, and I do love PlayStation. So that said, like Sean Layden killed it, man. Like he was crisp.
Very impressed with that guy this year.
Yeah, he really shocked me. So yeah, like they just the way they spoke and the things that they said, they just made it so awkward at EA. So I don't know. Hopefully they can get better. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, no, I agree. Speaking of awkward, and Sean Layden, probably the other big disappointment of E3, in my opinion, was the Crash Bandicoot remastered.
Well, that's a disappointment, but it's not. Like, we love Crash because you don't even love Crash. What am I saying? I love Crash because
I've never played Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, he was the character for PlayStation. Like he was the first he was the Mario for PlayStation for a while. But
yep, that's how I remember him.
Like, do you really want to play another Crash Bandicoot? Not really. Like nope, it was a very elementary game. It was very basic. I just don't I can't imagine anything exciting coming from a new Crash Bandicoot. Now, if you want to I don't want to drop too many F-bombs. If you want to bring back Jak and Daxter, like that was a great series that I think could play into, the aging generation, like, people our age who grew up with Jak and Daxter, like there's still a lot of adult humor. So like, it's something we could actually enjoy playing, but like, right. Crash was very much a kid's platformer.
I'm just over here wanting Banjo-Kazooie.
That's Jason and I have talked about that, but that's another one that just doesn't really do anything for me. Like I can't imagine being too excited for that. But I'm kind of having a hard time getting excited for Laylo,
ukulele.
Ukulele. I was going to say Laylo.
Layla Yuka, what?
I don't know what I was going to say.
Yeah, Ukulele from Playtonic, which are former Rare developers, made up of some of the former Rare developers. And yeah, I mean, I think, like, I could not care less about Crash Bandicoot personally. I think the problem is that so many people out there are fans, and Crash definitely has some strong nostalgia with them. Just like Alex was saying with Banjo-Kazooie. Like, a Banjo was another game that, like, I played the first one, didn't have it. To me, it wasn't like Mario 64. I have a very strong connection with Mario 64, but not too much with Banjo. But the nostalgia is real for a lot of people.
And I think they're... Sorry.
To tease the character for so long, the return of Crash, Sean Layden had the Crash t-shirt last year. Naughty Dog put, Crash 1, I believe. I haven't played Uncharted 4 yet, but they put in a playable version of Crash into Uncharted 4. And and there have been rumors about the return of Crash for a while. I think it's been a lot. And to finally like see these things revealed, like, oh, here's what we've been teasing. It's a remastered collection of some sort. They didn't show any of it. But what they did show was Crash and Skylanders. And to speak on behalf of a fan base that I have no part, or I have no business speaking on behalf of, like, I don't think that was the Crash they were looking for.
Yeah, but I think they're just a vocal fan base. I don't think they're actually fans with their wallet. Wow. There have been so many games that have come out, and not everybody, so like, don't take offense to it. But
if you want to call out Derek Dover on Twitter, you can follow him at Derek
at Jason Johnson. No, people always scream for new games. They always scream for they want this, they want that. But how many times have we seen games come out that people begged for, that it released and they didn't buy?
Right.
Which is why I'm really worried about Ukulele. Because I think people, like, get excited talking about it. Like I
Sure.
love Crash. I have great memories with Crash. Um, if you say we're going to make a new Crash, sure, that's great. Am I going to buy it? No.
I think
Do I think all the fans that played Crash a long time ago are going to buy it? No. Are young kids going to buy it? Probably not. They don't care who Crash is.
you know what Sony should do is they should really consider, and I'm saying this seriously, they should consider revamping the PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale
That's so
idea.
funny. I was just thinking about that. And somehow I knew that was what's going to come out of your mouth. Okay, go
Well,
ahead. Go ahead.
well, because just I mean, just look at what Nintendo does with Super Smash Brothers,
Right.
right? They're able to like Smash for Wii U and 3DS. Like, there's like more than 50 characters in that, and some of them are obscure and they're retro and they appeal to a different fan base. And then you have characters like Bayonetta, which appeals to a much more contemporary fan base, just like with some of the characters from newer Fire Emblems and on and on and on. Greninja from Pokemon, same kind of thing. That is a great tool to advertise your franchises. And it's also a good reminder, speaking of Smash, for how you should treat some of your mascots. Because Smash Brothers does a very good job of respecting the franchises that they borrow from.
Yeah,
And
very much.
in this latest version, they have third party characters like Pac Man and Mega Man and Sonic. And these, specifically with Mega Man and Sonic, these are characters that, the developers have been criticized. Sega and Capcom is Mega Man, correct? They've been criticized for the treatment of those characters. And Nintendo walks in and Sakurai, the developer, walks in and it's like, no, we know exactly how to do it. You respect them. And boom, there you go. It's like the best iteration of Mega Man in a long time. And then, on Xbox and now on Windows 10 is Killer Instinct, which is now drawing from other, Microsoft titles to introduce characters. Rash from Battletoads, General Ram from Gears of War was announced today at the Microsoft conference.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So this the Arbiter from Halo is a playable character as well. So they can borrow from other Microsoft properties to introduce a different audience to them. I would like to see the numbers on just a remote or vague interest in Battletoads after Rash was announced and when people could play as him. Because, I mean, that's the secret weapon. And I think Sony's missing that.
Yeah, and I thought what they had with All Stars was kind of fun. I thought it was good. Obviously, it needed a lot of work, but
Oh, I liked it.
I thought it was a really good start to something that could have been really special.
Yeah.
I still would have preferred for them to, I guess, take all the characters and maybe try to create one art style with them, so to speak.
Sure.
Um,
I think with that game, people expected that they were going to get Super Smash Brothers
Yeah.
for PlayStation, and that's not really what the game is.
right.
It's interesting and it's fun, and I think there's a lot of potential there. And I would like to see Sony explore that. And yeah, bring in Crash, bring in Jack and Daxter, bring in Sly can come back. And then you can weigh, look at the popularity in the current market and see if maybe pursuing something like new Jack and Daxter would be worth it. And it's hard to gauge, like you were talking about, Derek. It's hard to gauge like what the consumer base, like the paying consumer base, would be for a brand new Crash Bandicoot. Like that's tough. That's tough to gauge. He's an old character, but I think it's worth exploring. And I think as a first party, as a platform holder, your IPs are the most important thing you own.
And I think a factor. Sorry, you finished?
Nope.
Of I guess both of like people showing up and being fans with their wallet, and at the same time while also being respectful of the IPs is I guess making. I mean, this is going to sound really obvious, but making good games, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big issue with and backlash and of video game players is when bad games are put out and people have pre-ordered them, and so I think that. I mean, if we have to, if certain IPs are going to fail because the developers keep putting out bad games and fans are just going to stop buying them, well, that sucks. But I think that's on the developers to step up.
That's why I only pre-order games from Japanese developers.
Mm.
I'm never disappointed.
Well, that's good. That's good for you. I mean, like outside of Nintendo, because I didn't grow up with PlayStation, so I'm a little new to this whole PlayStation thing. So I don't have that affinity or nostalgia or love for some of these old franchises or characters. To me, since I hopped into the PlayStation family with PlayStation 3, I got that on launch day. Like God of War 2 through backwards compatibility, like that was my introduction. So to me, that's an old series. I have nostalgia for God of War. I have no idea who Crash Bandicoot is. But yeah, I mean, I think good games are good games. Bad games they're bad forever. So I mean, like take your time with these titles, and maybe that's always what Sony is about when they show titles that are years away. And maybe that's why EA is, they were cautious in what they showed this year. Maybe it's more about that they just don't have things that they can show off yet, including Mass Effect. It's just not time. And a poor first impression can be damning in this industry. The first time people get a hold of your game through an open beta or an alpha.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of examples of these games that were just overhyped at events like E3 and by the press, and the impressions you get from videos and trailers and whatnot, and then you get hands-on through a beta, and it's like, whew, man, this is supposed to be out in a month. Well, good thing I played it for free. Like I think of Evolve. When Evolve was revealed, I think it was Game of the Show at E3, whichever E3 that was at, 2014 maybe.
Yep, oof. It sure was.
And Evolve is it's an interesting game. It's just there's no longevity to it. It's very basic. I played the beta or whatever it was on PC and PS4, and I like underwhelmed isn't really the word. And I thought from all the trailers and stuff, I bought into that hype a little bit, and I'm glad I didn't buy the game, when it hit retail. So if EA is being cautious, maybe that's why they pulled out of E3 this year. They're not showing, they don't have a booth on the floor. One of like 4 or 5 companies that pulled out this year. But hey, if you're not ready, you're not ready, and don't show stuff before it should be shown. And maybe that's what they're doing, but they're not communicating that. And Sony may do the opposite, where they want to show it early, but it's not really ready. You may not see some of the titles they showed tonight for like a year or more.
That's one good thing about Sony at these press conferences is we only saw a little bit, through their whole presentation. But when you go to the Sony floor, they are going to be swarmed with all kind of crazy games that they didn't even get to talk about. So that's what I'm looking forward to, especially all the indies that I thought were kind of missed from the conference. So,
the floor is very different.
I can't wait. Yeah.
That's a different beast. So I think that about does it for Sony and EA. And for this episode, I think we're going to call it good on those two guys. Those two guys. Those two companies.
Those guys.
Those guys
over
there. But yeah, I mean, good showing, great showing from Sony, disappointing from EA. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about what Microsoft showed off. I thought Microsoft had a very strong show. Not quite Sony's, but both actually Microsoft, Bethesda, and Ubisoft did. They had some great stuff to show off, and definitely had their problems. And there's a whole discussion about iterative hardware and Project Scorpio. And Phil Spencer today said that they're looking at a world without generations, and that's a whole other topic that can be discussed at a later date. Tomorrow morning we have Nintendo's Treehouse event, where they will be showcasing for the first time like real gameplay of Zelda for Wii U and NX, and like we don't really know anything about this title, and it's been gone, from public eyes for a while. Just like a screenshot here or like a 2-second clip here. I think the last time we saw any gameplay was the Game Awards, maybe 2014.
Wow.
So I'm obviously like Zelda, Ocarina of Time might be my favorite game ever. Definitely up there for sure. So anything with Zelda, I am beyond excited for it, and I can't wait to finally see that game.
It's going to be so hard not being on the show floor tomorrow.
Oh yeah, and so Derek, you're going there.
So I'll be going on Wednesday and Thursday. Tomorrow I've got to finish my move. Perfect time for a move, right as E3 starts.
Yeah.
Yay. So yeah, I'll finish up my move tomorrow, and I'll try to get a lowdown from all the people that are there and figure out what I need to go see. And Wednesday, Thursday, I will be there, and I will be able to deliver some hands-on impressions.
Yeah, we can't wait to hear. I cannot be there this year, unfortunately, so can't wait to hear stories from the floor and real hands-on, because it's a whole other thing.
Absolutely. I'm excited to hear about the experience.
Maybe I'll run into my old buddy Igarashi Kochi, the Castlevania developer. Yeah.
Hey, and Michael Pachter. If you run into Michael Pachter,
I got to find Pack. Yeah.
And
I already reached out to Marcus Beer, so I'm going to try to run into him. So yeah, I gotta see Michael too.
Oh, nice. Yeah, try to get into one of Michael Pachter's famous E3
his
parties.
Infamous parties. Yeah. We'll see. Hey, buddy, come on. You want to slide a ticket this way, buddy? No, probably not. But I'll try. I will give it a shot.
So yeah, definitely excited to talk about that. Hopefully we will get the chance to talk about, and maybe this can mix in with games on the floor, and we can talk about Bethesda, Ubisoft, and Microsoft, because there are some great games coming, some great tech coming. Sea of Thieves, Gears of War, Forza Horizon, ReCore from Microsoft, Ubisoft, Watch Dogs 2, Ghost Recon Wildlands.
God bless America.
Steep is this crazy extreme sports open world game we didn't get a chance to talk about, but I was very impressed with what I saw. And some great stuff from Ubisoft. Dishonored, one of the most visually impressive games I saw at any of these conferences.
There's so much to talk about.
And
I didn't even get to talk about Spider-Man.
Oh, no. All right. We can take time out for Spider-Man.
Just real quick. We don't have to get into it because we don't really know a whole lot. But I am very excited. And I've never been excited for a Spider-Man game. But Insomniac doing Spider-Man sounds fantastic.
See, and Insomniac, like, if anyone was ever concerned about that, if you think of Insomniac and you're like, oh, but that's just Ratchet and Clank and Resistance, what you didn't play?
And Spyro the Dragon.
Oh, sure. Another game. I don't know anything about that character. But, then you probably didn't play Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah.
That has some of the most fun traversal of an open world that I've played. It's crazy. And to think that those guys they have their hands on Spider-Man.
Yep.
I'm telling you right now, that game, don't be concerned about that. Those are great devs. They know how to handle open world. That game is going to be a blast.
The first great Spider-Man game since Super Nintendo is finally coming.
Whoa. Throwing shade at Spider-Man 2.
Oh, come on now. Let's be honest. There hadn't been a single good Spider-Man game since the Super Nintendo.
No, I think that game, at least, overall, it wasn't great, but it did get down the feeling of web slinging and flying through the city.
Well, I'm also saying this, this is coming from a person that didn't actually play it. So take that with a grain of salt.
Well,
But I
and
heard some awfully negative comments about it.
oh man. Well, next time we'll just get some random guy on Twitter to.
Touche, good sir. Touche.
All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for us. Very excited about E3 and that's finally here. Excited to see Zelda and super excited to hear about stories from the show floor.
E3
So
hype train.
hopefully in the next couple of days we'll be able to get together again, have a conversation similar to this. Until then, I'm Jason Johnson. You can follow me on Twitter at Jason Johnson with 3 underscores after it.
I didn't know what in the heck you sent me. I could not find you on Twitter. I changed my Twitter name. What's this huge line? So it is 3 underscores. Okay.
3
I actually
underscores.
I copied it and pasted it into Twitter because I had no idea.
That's so funny because like you can't get just Jason Johnson. Like my name is too common.
Right, of course.
And you can't get Jason Johnson with 1 underscore because that guy has like 11 followers and doesn't even use it. And the one with 2 underscores, that guy's account is suspended. So I could only get 3, and I think that's the max. I think I've maxed out the character limit on username on Twitter.
Well, I am Derek Dover. You can find me on Twitter at Derek Dover. It was a very creative name, of course. That's DerrickDover. And then
Alex?
And I'm Alex Lee, and you can find me at AlexLee_Seattle. I've got another common one, so I had to throw some underscores in there.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do. So that's it for us.
It's been fun.
If you stuck around this long, thank you for listening. You can also follow us at Joleedo, Joleedo on Twitter, and on Spreaker, iTunes, SoundCloud, medium.com/Joleedo. We are getting things up and running. We are starting with video games and podcasting, and we are very soon expanding into politics and film and TV and sports and music and any interest you have. If you enjoyed this, let us know what you think. Love us, like us, hate us, indifferent. Reach out to us. And until next time, thanks for listening.